What's the deal, everybody? I'm Jeremy Deal. Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be going over, well, you know what we're going over. You clicked on the thumbnail. But either way, when it comes to real estate photography, there are two strobes that I think are very valuable. The first one we're going to be talking about is the tried and true AD200 from Godox. Now, this thing is used by professionals worldwide, and there's a reason for that. The next one we're going to be talking about is this smaller little guy right in front of it, the Flashpoint Xplor 300Pro. These two flashes are both great for real estate photography, but after using them both for a very long time, I have a good grasp on the pros and cons on why these two lights work well and where each one succeeds and the other one fails. And we're going to tackle that subject in today's episode, so let's get into it. Oh wait, we're back. All right, let's go. Well, I guess the first thing you should know is you already know this is a real estate review, so this is all about how these lights work in my real estate workflow, and I'm gonna do things a little differently. Usually I would probably talk about one light, then talk about the next light, and then compare them at the very end, but I'm actually gonna do more of a head-to-head comparison of each one of these in specific topic matters, and at the very end I'll tell you which one I actually prefer to shoot with. So I guess if you want to see that, you can just skip to the very end, but I'm going to give you some valuable information in between. So the first thing that we'll be going over is weight. As you can see, they both look similar in size, right? Each one is a little bit bigger and smaller in different ways, and we'll go over that in just a minute. But when it comes to the weight, they are fairly close to the same, with the Flashpoint slightly weighing more, especially once you put the battery in. Even though they both take the same battery, the batteries are interchangeable. For some reason, I find the Flashpoint battery to be just a little bit thicker and heavier. I don't know if it's a higher voltage or it has more reps, but this battery is a little bit heavier than the Godox battery, which I do not have currently. If you saw my last video, you would know I'm in the process of rebuilding this thing. So I've been using this a lot more often. Now, let's talk about size since I just brought that up. They are both very similar in size. The Flashpoint is shorter than the AD200. The AD200 is thinner than the Flashpoint. So I guess it depends on your bag and situational carry. I personally find the AD200 easier to carry because it is a tiny bit lighter. It's thin and long like one of my other strobes. As you can see, I have some random accessories over here. This one actually comes with the Flashpoint. This is a handle grip. I'm sure they make one for the Flashpoint, but this one doesn't fit very well with it. But on the AD200, it works perfectly, and that's what I use. So when it comes to the size, I prefer the AD200 over the Flashpoint. Next topic matter. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the actual front of the strobe itself. What I do like about the Flashpoint is that it has this nice little cover over the front bulb and lens. It's really nice. This is very versatile compared to the AD200. It has a switchable front. Let's see if I can find that button. Here we go. So you can take this off, go bare head, you can switch this around very easily. Now the AD200 does itself have an optional switch around front as well. As you can see, if you know anything about the AD200, it actually has a squared front unit or a bare open bulb that you can put something else on. And this is a separate unit to give it the round head. I like the round look and reflections whenever they do pop up, and whenever I do portrait work. I give this to the Flashpoint because it's already round. You don't have to buy a separate attachment for it. Therefore, the Flashpoint wins right here. The Flashpoint's design, I think, is also a little better, especially if someone is used to using a studio strobe, because that's what this really resembles. It's more of a studio strobe than the AD200. This guy is more of a wanderer. I know I'm a little lost in my actual comparisons and topic matter, so let's get back on point. Now, they both have the detachable heads. They both now have round heads. What's the difference in the actual shooting with these? The AD200 is great. It's powerful. This thing is definitely more powerful. It can also recycle about twice as fast as the AD200. I think that's because it's the Pro version, so it can recycle quicker. So I have noticed that one big difference is that this thing recycles about twice as quick as the AD200. The other thing about the AD200 is that it's less powerful. This thing on full blast shoots about what this does on quarter blast. I don't know if that matters for you, but it seems that my battery life lasts a little better on the Flashpoint than it does on the AD200, because when I'm getting into those large rooms with this light right here in particular, I've noticed I definitely have to have it on full power. It's very rare this one, the Flashpoint, ever gets put on full power. I need a water break. Gotta open it first, man.
Glug, 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 glug.
Back into it. All right, getting right back into that topic matter, the power. Like I said, this thing is just much more powerful. And as I mentioned, I switched out to the round head. This one already has a round head. And I'll tell you one thing I've noticed about these two round heads, and I'll give you my personal idea on why it's like this. This thing shoots better inside of spaces. I'll tell you what I mean by that. If you've ever seen my old videos, you know that when I shoot a room, I walk into the room and I take my strobe, I put it into the room, and I face it back cornered towards the back corner of the wall that I'm shooting at. So it uses that as like a big softbox reflecting the light forward. I do that with both of these lights. This one is not as effective, and I think it's because this one has this deep collar naturally on it. So I actually don't have to point this one backwards. I can point this one straight at the ceiling, and it doesn't give me the same shadows and weird artifacting that this one does if I point it straight up. The AD200, I always have to point backwards, or things like ceiling fans and chandeliers will give extreme shadows push forward. For some reason, the Flashpoint Xplor 300Pro, if I point it straight up at the ceiling, it doesn't give me any of the harsh shadows that this does. Maybe it's because it was designed with this round bulb, more like a studio light, and the inside collar of this attachment piece. I'm not really quite sure why it is, but I have noticed that. And on the same, this one is actually much larger around. So maybe that's it. It's about an inch wider in diameter, about a half inch, somewhere around there. So it's a little bit larger around. Maybe that has something to do with it. I've also noticed that whenever I'm pointing this back towards the camera, this one I know creates a more narrow light of beam, because I almost never get lens flare in my wide angle lens from this shooting. This, when I point it back, its spill is extreme. So if you look at these two lights, this guy, when it goes off, the light barely gets any bigger than it. This one, when it goes off, it's instant spill everywhere. So I think maybe that has something to do with it. It's how I noticed that holding it up straight to the ceiling works way better than this. It stops the lens flare that I was getting, and it doesn't create those harsh shadows. So how many point matters is that? Is that like 2, 3, 5? I don't know how many. We're still going. As you can tell, it's a toss-up because it really depends on what your workflow is like. The next thing that may break you on the Flashpoint, even though so far it is a better light, is that it is more expensive than the AD200. The AD200 has been around for a very long time. Over 5 years for sure. I don't know exactly when it came out, but I've had this one for probably 3 years, I think. This Xplor 300Pro is not as old as this. This thing has only been around for a year, maybe 2, and it is walloping this AD200. Now that I've had to use this one in the field for the past few weeks and stopped carrying this one, I carried this one all the time because it was skinnier, it fit in my bag better, it weighed a little less, it didn't have the lens flare problem, so I was still carrying the AD200. But when it broke and needed repairs, I started carrying this. And now I can't even remember why I'm actually repairing my AD200. The screen on it is worse, the controls on it are worse, the power switch on it is horrible. It will always give out on you eventually, where you'll have to just kind of rig it up with tape and pop the battery in and out. I haven't had any of those problems with this Flashpoint. It is much more sturdily built. It has a magnesium or metal body. This is all plastic. The connection point is super solid. The AD200, if you can't tell, I've had connection points just completely rip out for literally no reason. This thing was on a light stand and just out of nowhere fell off of the light stand because the connection point right there just fell. The plastic broke around it. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, I have had way more problems with this Godox AD200 than I have ever had with Flashpoint. Another thing about these two is that, you know, Flashpoint is Adorama's brand. Godox, the reason I'm repairing this on my own is because I've tried so hard to find a way to repair this, to just send it off to someone that looks reputable enough, but it's a difficult task. Not many people work on them, and to get them repaired by Godox itself is a long, timely process that I can't even get started. I've tried multiple times and they just won't respond. This is Adorama. I've had great customer service with them. It's easy to get repaired or replaced if need be. I am assuming, because I've had other lights of theirs that were easy to get fixed. So for that reason, and for many other reasons, when it comes down to what light I would choose to buy, if I had to pick one right now for my real estate career or real estate photography career, it would 100% be the Flashpoint Xplor 300Pro. They are both great lights. Once again, no matter which one you get, you're going to be happy. But if you get this one, you're going to be over the moon. This thing is incredible. It is the best on-site strobe I've ever used. I use it for my real estate work. I use it for my portrait work. And one thing I didn't even touch on in the video yet is the actual color temperature of these two lights. This light shoots a beautiful bright white. It is just crystal clean. This AD200, I don't know if it's the aftermarket bulb I had to put on the front, but it always shoots a kind of yellowish, dirty, tinged look light. I hate the light that comes out of this, and I didn't realize how much I hated it until I started using this. So if you're gonna go out and buy one of these lights right now, go buy this Flashpoint AD. Nope, I'm putting those two together. So if you're gonna go buy one of these lights right now, go buy yourself the Flashpoint Xplor 300Pro. This is not sponsored by Adorama. It's not sponsored by any brand. This is just my honest opinion after using these lights for hundreds of hours on site and everything they've got to give. As always, keep enjoying what you're doing. Keep rocking and rolling. Make smart business decisions, and I'll catch you next time.